Moving on to the next question. What is due diligence? Due diligence is basically doing your homework, background check, research before you risk your money buying a piece of property or anything else in general. Due diligence can be conducted on people, on business partners, on companies, not just on property. So that's what due diligence means. It means doing your research on the background information about the property you're interested in purchasing before you do. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to do this after you have risked your money by paying the seller of the land. You want to be sure first, unless for whatever reason you have 100% trust with the seller, you want to do it before you risk your money. So things like doing searches, get a search certificate stamped by the Ministry of Lands. After that, get a certified copy of the registry index map, the mutation form, as well as a green card. Go to the site with a licensed surveyor, confirm the boundaries of the land, the dimensions, that everything matches. Speak to the property owner, do your due diligence on them, ask for their ID, their PIN certificate, get your lawyer to do a search on the person's ID. A lot of people don't know you can do this, but it's something we routinely do. If I'm buying land from an individual and they give me certified copies of their national ID, I can go to NSSF Towers, Registrar of Persons Office, pay a specific fee, and they will actually give me a report confirming the identity of the person whose ID I have, because it's not uncommon for fraudsters to superimpose their faces on actual IDs or to create fake ones, right? You can do a search on an individual just as you would on a title deed. So do all that, wrapped up together, is what we refer to as due diligence. Next question. Where is the best place to buy land in Kenya? Wow, that's a difficult one. And I say that because it's very subjective. If it depends on your own likes, dislikes, what parts of the country you prefer to settle or risk your money, the purpose for your investment. If you're a farmer looking to do wheat farming, you know, the coast may not be the best place for you to invest. If you're looking to build, you know, a 45-story commercial building for rental income, rural parts of Kenya may not be the best places for you to buy. So it's very subjective. I'd be hesitant to give a specific answer because I'll be giving you my own opinion. But if you're asking me, I'd say it's a close tie between the South Coast, Diani, Ukunda, and Nairobi. Those are the dream locations for me personally. But for you, it would depend. So be clear about your goals, and the rest should be easy. Okay, we have a question from Sheila Akini, right? On Facebook. So Sheila, thank you for your question. You're asking, is it a pipe dream to desire land by the beach? Is that possible in Kenya? Through Gaussian? Haha. You are speaking to my heart. So Sheila, absolutely, 1,000,000%, it is, it is possible. I don't think there's any such thing as a pipe dream. A dream is a dream. You know, it might take you 10 years, 20 years, 50 years to make it practical. Never discount your dreams. It doesn't matter how ludicrous it seems to you now because of how much capital you have versus what it costs, but the desire is important. It's a first step. So yes, it is possible. We are actually currently scouting for opportunities at the coast, and we're so looking forward to sharing that with our current customers first and the general public once we do. And yes, Sheila, we would be honored to serve you and facilitate your ownership of land at Kenya's coast. And just to be clear, we're not agents or brokers. We only sell what we own. So give us time to secure something safe and investable, and we'll definitely reach out to you, Sheila. Thank you. Yeah, so please, if you have more questions, send them through. I want to answer as many live questions as possible. Don't be shy. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And if I can't answer, I'll tell you I can't answer and I'll get back to you. But send your questions through. If not for you, for your loved one, someone you know who's going through the process, please do so. So I'll just address one of those that we got on WhatsApp. What is the difference between leasehold and freehold? So leasehold and freehold generally refer to land tenure. Land tenure means the legal structure within which you own the land, right? So freehold, very common, most people know this. Freehold refers to absolute ownership for perpetuity, basically forever. You have absolute ownership for as long as the government allows that to be the case, right? This is generally reserved mostly for agricultural spaces, but it's not uncommon to have residential freehold parcels of land or otherwise. Just be sure that you are compliant within the jurisdiction that you're investing in. The second one, leasehold, basically refers to limited ownership of land, right? This is very common in urban areas like Nairobi, Mombasa. A lot of beach frontage, water frontages tend to be leasehold at the coast, and that was the case right from our independence, and for good reason. I mean, it's not a secret that our colonial past allowed settler farmers to own land for up to 999 years, right? That was shortened down to 99 years by the new constitution promulgated in 2010. And so now you have leaseholds that go up to 99 years and they are renewable. They are essentially the same thing. Only difference is for the leasehold, you have to renew your ownership rights when they expire. You can trade and sell and do the same things on both pieces of land. It's only a question of limited time ownership versus perpetual forever ownership. Very simple. One more question from WhatsApp. Business Daily yesterday did a report on the appreciation of land prices around Nairobi. What are your thoughts on this? I did see some of that data. I believe that was done by Has Consult. I mean, not surprising. These are areas mostly around Nairobi, and Nairobi happens to be one of the most expensive cities on the continent. In fact, a few years ago, I read a report that essentially placed Upper Hill at the time as the second most expensive real estate on the African continent. Number one was Sandton in Joburg, South Africa. Number two was Upper Hill. I mean, Westlands is not too far behind. Lavington is trailing close as well. Nairobi is expensive. What are my thoughts? I mean, it is what it is. I wish it was cheaper so I could afford more of it now, but today is the cheapest it's ever going to be. I always tell people that. Rather than complain about the prices now, work with what you have and buy where you can, because the same thing is happening in other parts of the country away from Nairobi. In fact, there are corners of Kenya, not very well known, not as settled as Nairobi, that are appreciating at a much faster rate than Nairobi is. So get busy about owning your land now, right? Hashtag own land in Kenya. That's what this is all about. And we're here to help with that. Right? All right, so we're going to take a quick break. Please enjoy by our amazing partners, Sauti Sol, and we'll be right back.
Go forth and multiply all your dreams and fantasies, yeah. Go over the ocean, it's Gaussian. Oh, when will you realize? Open your eyes, yeah. Over the ocean, Gaussian. Baba ulikuwa wapi? Walipogawa Kenya kama mkate, ulikuwa wapi? walipogawa Nairobi kaugali, si tukanywa maji. Walipotangaza mashamba na tukajipata kichakani. Oh, ulikuwa wapi?
Hapa nilikuja bila kitu na sitoki bila kitu. Mwanangu azaliwe na kakitu, usitoke bila kitu. Aye, kila siku naishi kama sina kitu, mwishowe miniwe na kakitu, akusitoke bila kitu.
I wanna be home with you. I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna be home with you. I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. Baby, usijali, tumeona masiku za masika na kiangazi, milima na mabonde tukashuka, tukapanda ngazi, hadi kifo kitutenganishe. Utakuwa wapi? Oh, utakuwa nami, yeah.
Hapa nilikuja bila kitu na sitoki bila kitu. Mwanangu azaliwe na kakitu, usitoke bila kitu. Aye, kila siku naishi kama sina kitu, mwishowe miniwe na kakitu, akusitoke bila kitu.
I wanna be home with you. I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna be home with you. I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you.
Thank you for coming back. I hope you're still with us. I hope you've asked a few people to join you. Anyone who's interested in owning land that hasn't bought land before, or maybe it's a veteran, maybe it's someone who's having issues with a land transaction, send in your questions. We'd love to be a positive impact to you and share our experiences, because we do have some experiences, right? So I have a really cool question here from Jevons Senior. Jevons, I hope I pronounced that right. Why are women outshining men when it comes to land ownership? You know, this is something we actually spend a little bit of time trying to understand, because 80% in general, 80%, 75, 80% of our customers tend to be women. And this is not unique to Gaussian acquisitions. I'm sure it's true for most property dealers as well. It's actually a global phenomenon. It's not unique to Kenya either. So, you know, men shouldn't feel bad or unfairly targeted. You know, I think that there's a number of basic primal reasons, and I'll cover just a couple of them. I think the first one simply has to do with the maternal or biological nature of women. Women tend to spend a lot more time thinking about security, how to secure their family, how to secure their children's future. Even when they don't have children, I find that women are a lot more attuned to concerns about future security. And I think that financial planning and their spending choices is reflective of that. It's also not a secret that women have been empowered in the recent past a lot more than the previous generation. I mean, in Kenya for a long time, a woman could not own land on her own. She had to get permission from her father or or her husband. You know, there's been a shift in the general consciousness of society, where women who have been held back for so long finally have access to the same privileges that men have enjoyed for a long time, and they're simply taking advantage of those, and they put they put their money where their concerns are. That's the first one. I think the other one is simply because women generally collaborate better with each other than men do. That's a fact. I have seen it happen over and over again. There's probably a number of other reasons around that, but we find that those are the two main ones, and it's a global phenomenon, right? So Ian K is asking, how long does it take to get consent after LCB? All right, so LCB is Land Control Board. That's what LCB stands for. How long does it take to get consent? So the land control boards typically meet once a month. In some places they meet more than once. In either case, their meeting dates are published and made visible to the general public for a year in advance. So you can go to any land control board meeting venue, generally around the county commissioner's offices or the former district commissioner's offices, and you will find a notice board where they will have the land control board meeting dates for the entire year in advance, right? You have to apply in most instances about 7 days before they actually meet. You have to pay a fee. It's about 1,000 shillings to the Ministry of Lands cash office. You get a receipt, attach it to your application. In certain counties like in Kajiado, we're experiencing something different where they require us to attach passport photos of both ourselves as the sellers as well as our buyers. It's not required by every land board. So far, Kajiado is the only one that's requiring that from us. But you present yourself and they give you an approval or a denial with the reasons usually. So if they give you an approval, how long it takes you to get a letter of consent is dependent on the specific land control board. In Kajiado, because we traveled all the way to Mashuru sub-county, we actually did a cool video where we took our viewers along with us to Mashuru sub-county for a land control board hearing session. They are sensitive to the fact that a lot of people travel from very far, long distances, and it takes all day to come to Mashuru. And so they're very good at letting us leave with our letters of consent. After the session, they prepare the letters of consent for those they approve, and we leave with them. In other jurisdictions, for example, in Laikipia County, we generally, if we attend the land board on a Wednesday, which is typically, it's usually the last Wednesday of each month, they'll ask us to come back for the letters of consent either on Friday or the following Tuesday, because they have their own internal logistics to sort out as far as who is preparing the letters of consent, who is signing them, who is stamping them, and who's giving them out. So it just depends, but it shouldn't take you more than a week in general. If it does, put your foot on the ground. If you're using a lawyer to follow up, make sure they are with it, okay? Shouldn't take more than a week. So I'll switch to WhatsApp. I'll do this one. How do you identify land for sale as a company? So is it the company selling, or is the company looking for land for sale? I'm not sure what the question is.
How does Gaussian identify?
Okay, so as Gaussian acquisitions, how do we identify land for sale? Initially, I would spend a lot of time scouting myself. I would jump in a car and drive to wherever I was interested in looking, and just stop at a coffee shop or a nyama choma joint, introduce myself to random strangers, tell them what I'm looking for, and you'd be surprised how many people always know of something that's up for sale. Kenya is famous for this informal broker agent situation. Even I heard of someone's house help demanding a 10% commission on a 3 billion shilling transaction, right? So information is out there. How you sift through the information is more important than actually getting it. So it's not difficult to identify land for sale. Ask around. People will point you in a direction, and it's up to you to manage how you funnel that through. Today, we get a lot of leads from people who know that we buy. Because we only sell what we own, we have to be buying at some point. So we get offers all the time, which is great because then it's a bit more efficient. We get leads from all over the country, as opposed to me making time or one of my team members making time to drive somewhere and spending time there. You can work with licensed agents or brokers who will have listings as well. There's a ton of ways to find properties for sale. There's a cool question here from Sigu. Thank you for your question, Sigu. Is it possible to volunteer to assist in land scouting at Gaussian acquisitions? Well, they said Gaussians. Sigu, we are Gaussian acquisitions, not Gaussians, right? We'd be happy to have a chat with you if that's what you're interested in. Visit us at our offices, make an appointment. Let's have a sit down. And see what's possible, right? So, balls in your court. Any other questions here? Marube RTBA, underscore RTBA. Does Gaussian Acquisitions do conveyance consulting? Marube, you're probably the 1 millionth person who's asked us that question. I wish I had a shilling for every time someone asks us. No, we do not give conveyance consulting. That's a licensed advocate's job, which is why I'm always singing in our videos, please, please, please do yourself a favor, work with only licensed professionals. And that goes for lawyers. Find a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya, specifically one who specializes in conveyancing, because they have different specialities. Some prefer to do litigation, others prefer to do commercial, others focus on other things. Find one who focuses on property transactions. Generally, commercial lawyers will also handle property transactions or conveyance, and they will sort you out. I mean, we're happy to share our views, give advice based on our past experiences, but it's not something we consult for, at least not at the moment, but thank you for asking. The comment on the last one, okay. How does one deal with squatters? What does the law say about this? Okay, so a squatter is basically someone who has taken residence or possession of a property they are not duly registered as the owner of. Hope that makes sense. So how do you deal with a squatter? It's very messy, which is why in most sale agreements you will find a clause that requires the seller of the property to transfer the ownership of the property to the buyer vacant or free of anyone else's residency. It's a messy situation if you have squatters on a property, because if they have been there for more than 12 years consecutively, uninterrupted, then you can't just kick them out. They have certain residential or ownership rights, if you will. Again, consult an advocate of the High Court to help you navigate this. You have to be sure what period of time they have possessed the property. It's known as adverse possession in some cases, which is not uncommon at all. If they've been there less than 12 years, it's easier to deal with. There's processes you go through using law enforcement and the judicial services to have them evicted. But in general, squatter situations are messy and undesirable to deal with. I generally tell people, if you're considering a property that has squatters on it, you might want to find something else to go for, unless you have the means and the resources and the time and patience to go through the legal procedures to deal with them. And very often that will involve compensating them for their departure or for the time they have spent there. Cool? Okay, YouTube question from Kelvin Minjire. What do you know the Mau Mau shambas that government owes to freedom fighters and their descendants, are they real or people management by government of Kenya? Well, okay. Kelvin Minjire, that's a great question. I'll be honest, I haven't spent very much time considering this particular question. I do know that there are properties or blocks of properties that were put aside for our freedom fighters and their descendants. Maybe not as compensation per se, but in terms of resettlements during the colonial period. We all know what happened, the injustices that were meted out against our ancestors. As far as which they are and whether they have been given or not, we really don't know, but I promise you it's something we'll look into. I personally do some research on that, and I'll get back to you, Kelvin. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have 10 minutes remaining. So if you have any questions, please send those through. Don't be shy. Let's get as many of those answered. So next question here is, what advice do you have for people looking to become land sellers? Okay, so my question to you would be, are you looking to sell as an agent or as a broker? If you are, please get licensed. Don't be one of those random street guys, briefcase agents and brokers. Get licensed, do it right, have professional indemnity cover, approach it the right way. Now, if you're looking to do what we do as Gaussian Acquisitions, that's great. My advice to you is be sure that it's your passion. Be sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. I generally don't advise people to go after anything because they think it's going to make them money, because that's going to be short-lived. There are many issues and problems we have to deal with as property dealers, particularly when you're dealing with property as an owner, not an agent. There are 1,000,001 ways things could go wrong. So if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to last very long. So make sure you're clear in your heart of hearts that you are passionate about it, and then be professional. Always tell the truth, always be transparent, and focus on serving the people that you're selling to, and you will do just fine. Okay? And start immediately, don't wait. Second question after that one is, I have a title deed. I heard you and Caroline talk about the RIM. How can I ensure that my title and RIM match? Oh, that's an easy one. Please watch all the other videos around RIMs and titles. So the registry index map, which is what RIM stands for, you can get from the government surveyor, Ministry of Land Survey Department. Have a copy of your title deed. It'll help them trace the RIM a lot faster if you have a copy of the title, because the titles on the mutation forms and the title deeds generally match the registry index maps. And your title deed number should be clearly illustrated on the registry index map, meaning no matter what shape the piece of land exists in, there's going to be a corresponding number on the RIM that matches your title deed. It's very simple, even on a face value. Now, if you don't find the title number on the RIM, it could mean one of two things. The first thing it usually means is that whoever subdivided that piece of land from the larger mother parcel did not complete the process of having the RIM updated by the provincial surveyor. Okay? That's usually majority of the cases. In some cases, however, and this is the second thing it could mean, is that you have a title deed to hot air, meaning you have a title to a piece of land that does not exist on the ground, which is why it is not clearly indicated on the RIM. And if that's the case, run away if you're in the process of purchasing, or if you've already bought the piece of hot air. Please go to the authorities and register your situation, and see where to go from there. All right? Great question. Another question here. Sigu has sent another question. Thanks. You talked about buying below market price. How do you evaluate market price, especially land in rural areas? Okay, so market price has to do essentially with what people are willing to pay, not what a valuer says per se. Even when you do get a professional valuation report, they will look at data of available properties on the market in general. That's how it works in Kenya. I find that that's not a very foolproof way to prove market rates, because in developed parts of the world, they base market rates on closed transaction values, right? In Kenya, we don't have any way to confirm closed transaction values. And this is what I mean. If I'm selling you a piece of land, say in Westlands, for 100 million shillings, that's my asking price. Now, it's possible that someone paid me my asking price. It's possible that they overpaid, they overshot my asking price because there was a bidding war situation and someone wanted it more than the next guy, so they paid me, say, 120 million. It could also be that they paid me 80 million instead because I really needed the cash now, I didn't have time to wait. See, the closed transaction value is a better indicator for market rates, which is not data that we have ready access to here in Kenya, which I find is a problem. But in general, market rates are determined by what people are willing to pay for. So how do you determine that in rural areas? Ask around. You'll get a general feel for what people are asking versus what they sell for. And then you can make your decision based on that. In worst case scenario, you can hire a professional valuer to do a valuation report for you, and that can act as a guide. Again, these are all supposed to act as indicators or pointers. They are not the end-all, be-all. They're simply supposed to guide you so that you don't overpay too much. Ideally, you want to underpay so that you can make money when you buy, not when you sell. But those are my views on valuations, especially in rural areas, right? Okay, so that was the last question. I just want to say thank you to all of you who've participated. Thank you for following. Please get on all our social media handles. If you have more questions, we'll continue to answer those as we go along. We have great information and content for you on our YouTube channel, Own Land in Kenya, or Gaussian Acquisitions YouTube channel, where I share tons of great information about how to do a search, how to avoid getting conned. And if you have any questions from those, please send them through. Get empowered, get informed, and get busy about owning land in Kenya safely. I am Solomon Wangwe, and I look forward to having a chat with you next time. And I hope you enjoy our theme song by the Sauti Soul. Cheers.
Go forth and multiply all your dreams and fantasies, yeah. Go over the ocean, it's Gaussian. Oh, when will you realize? Open your eyes, yeah. Over the ocean, Gaussian.
I wanna build a home with you. I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna build a home with you. I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you.
And multiply all your dreams and fantasies, yeah. Go over the ocean, is Gaussian. Oh, when will you realize? Open your eyes, yeah. Over the ocean, Gaussian. Baba, ulikuwa wapi? Walipogawa Kenya kama mkate, ulikuwa wapi? Walipogawa Nairobi ka ugali, si tukanywa maji. Walipotangaza mashamba na tukajipata kichakani. Oh, ulikuwa wapi?
Hapa nilikuja bila kitu na sitoki bila kitu. Mwanangu azaliwe na kakitu, usitoke bila kitu. Aye, kila siku naishi kama sina kitu, mwishowe miliwe na kakitu, akisitoke bila kitu. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you.
Baby, usijali, tumeona masiku za masika na kiangazi, milima na mabonde tukashuka, tukapanda ngazi, hadi kifo kitutenganishe. Utakuwa wapi? Oh, utakuwa nami, yeah.
Hapa nilikuja bila kitu na sitoki bila kitu. Mwanangu azaliwe na kakitu, usitoke bila kitu. Aye, kila siku naishi kama sina kitu, mwishowe miliwe na kakitu, akisitoke bila kitu. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you.
Go forth and multiply all your dreams and fantasies, yeah. Go over the ocean, it's Gaussian. Oh, when will you realize? Open your eyes, yeah. Over the ocean, Gaussian.
I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm